Hello, hello, and welcome to another podcast episode of Overpowering Emotions, where I talk all things big emotions, emotion regulation, and resilience, of course. We're on our journey of resilience. Now, this is part two of a two-part series that I did with my husband on our other podcast, Parents of the Year. And we were talking about whether or not we should be focusing so much on our children's emotions. And we broke it up. It's such a big discussion that's important for all adults to know, because I think we have a tendency to focus too much on how our kids are feeling. And so this is part two of that discussion. Hope you enjoy. Hello, sir.
Welcome back.
How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Excited to get going on the second part of our Choose Your Own Adventure.
I'm just trying to think of like stuff that's happened. Although all my references are things that were probably like a long time ago.
Probably.
Lots happening in F1.
Yeah. Good times.
Anyway,
Max sucks and he's losing a lot.
Maybe not by the time this airs.
And to anybody that's a Max Verstappen fan, feel free to unsubscribe. I just lost his listener.
Do people like that, Max?
Oh, yeah. People like Max.
In Vegas, when I went, it was so hot. But when I went, he was everywhere.
Oh, yeah. He's a big deal. He's a great driver. I just dislike him.
Yeah. I definitely like Lewis more.
Yeah, Lewis is the man.
What are your thoughts on Lando?
I like Lando. I like the McLaren team. I think they're doing, I like Zach. Like, I like the CEO. I really like Zach, and I like what he's doing. Lando and Oscar are awesome. I like Charles. I was
going to ask about Charles. I love his puppy.
Charles has been awesome. Like, if you look downstairs, when Charles debuted and moved to Ferrari, I have a painting of two drivers. One is Lewis, and one is Charles.
Oh, I didn't know the other one was Charles.
Yeah, the other one is Charles. Oh. I like Charles a lot. I think Charles, though, is his own worst enemy. I think he gets into his own head a little bit too much and just needs to focus. Like the final 15 laps of today's race, Charles was Charles. He was
today's race, or
the race that I just watched a few weeks ago. Today's race. He was awesome. He was foot down into the accelerator and did what he needed to do, right? But he's also the same guy that could be foot down into the wall and gets himself.
Maya likes him because he's cute.
He's not tough on the eyes. Like
although like she likes him as a driver too.
Yeah, but he is cute. His brother's pretty cute too.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Arthur was on the TV a few weeks ago when I watched that one race that we're not referencing.
I mean, have to check it out.
He's not as cute as Charles. Sorry, Charles. What was really interesting to me was, you know how at the end of the race, the drivers are always talking about their principles and congratulating and this and that. Charles spoke almost exclusively in Italian to the Italian paddock.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's from Monaco. And it was fluent. Like it wasn't choppy at all.
Oh, wow.
And then in his post-race, he switched between French, Italian, and English just seamlessly. And poor Nico Rosberg had no idea what he was saying. Like when he asked him, what are your thoughts on whatever, he answered in full Italian for like 45 seconds. And Nico just sat there and said, well, to translate, I think what you're saying is, it was really funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I do wish we and the girls had more languages. Maya's really bumming. And she's gone to start university and she's met all these friends. And she's like, I'm the only one. There's a British guy who only speaks English. Everybody else has at least 2 or 3 languages. Mm-hmm. And she's bumming.
So she realizes she's not 70, right? She's not even 18. She could learn.
She could learn.
There you go.
I know.
So what she's doing is walking around with an unlit candle in the dark.
Apparently. Hey, tying in
good call
last week's. Well, talking about last week's episode, I had talked about, should we be talking about our kids' feelings so much? And you had a resounding no.
Yep.
And we talked about just how when we focus too much on them, kids start believing that they're truth.
I want to clarify the one statement, though. It's not that I don't think that we should acknowledge the feelings. It's that I think we put them at the forefront of too many things and make them the driving force behind actions and decisions.
And we can, yeah, absolutely. We want to validate. That sucks, right? That's disappointing. That bummer. Like I'm all about adjectives, right? But then we're putting it back in their lap. What are you going to do? Do listen to last week's, because I talk about, right, like it's up to them now to cope. It's not up to us to make them feel better or because we're crippling them. If we try to make them feel better, if we try to fix the problem, if we try to do any of those things to make the situation better, we're actually crippling them because they're not learning to problem solve, to figure things out, to cope with those emotions. But where I was going, like what we talked about last week, was them believing their feelings as reality all the time without critically thinking. So yes, sometimes they are valid.
100%.
And, someone was being really mean. And so, I am right to defend myself. But when we don't think about them critically and looking at the bigger picture, right, is really important. The other piece that I was going to go to today was just looking at putting too much focus on feelings sort of gets kids stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is, we'll use an example of, well, I'm always talking about being an emotion coach. That's what we need to do, right? Coaches don't sit there and let's talk about your feelings, right? It's just, okay, I know you're nervous. What's your next step?
Yeah.
Right. And so they're focusing on this action orientation versus state orientation, which is how are you feeling? Right. So if you use an example of a kid's learning to ride a bike, okay, and he falls off the bike. What do you think would happen if we're like, oh my gosh, we run to him. Oh my gosh, are you okay? How are you feeling right now? What would happen?
He'd be freaking out because he was in pain.
Right. In pain. I'm sad. I'm upset. That kid is not going to get back on that bike, right? If we are sitting there focusing on the feelings, it stunts them, right? They get stuck in this spiral. Same thing, like with the depressed kid or anybody, if we say, hey, how's it going? Most of the time, to be polite, people will be like, oh, I'm fine. But if they aren't and they tell their truth, it's probably almost, oh my gosh, I'm stressed or I'm really depressed or I'm really and it just pulls everybody down, right? It's not helpful at all to ever ask, really, how are you feeling? And now they're focusing on maybe that kid didn't even realize that he was scared or hurt or anything. But now we're putting all that focus on. Versus a coach would be like, oh man, that sucks. Oh, yeah, your knee. I see it, dude. We'll grab a Band-Aid in a second. Let's get back on.
Yeah, we got a job to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's an important thing because I think there's time to process feelings after the initial moment. I think a lot of people think that by not spending the time in the moment to deal with it, you'll never give an opportunity to it. But at the same time, there's the potential for you to just push through and then at the end go, man, that was something after your fall. I bet you were, or what were you thinking when that happened? But I'm proud of you. You got through it. And they'll be like, yeah, I was so scared, but I wanted to get it done. They'll always go in a positive bent. We've seen that. We've seen our kids have to push through. And yeah, they're upset and that kid's mean and I got hurt. And okay, but you still got to get this done. So get it done and then we'll talk about it. Right. And the perspective is much different unless they get hurt again, which has happened, in which case you've usually lost them for that situation. It's like, you got smashed twice. All right, we're done. But I think there's an opportunity to give them the chance to remedy the situation or push through the situation or the challenge before you make them come back. Because it's kind of like that, take a minute before you hit send on an email, right? Take a minute and walk away and really process it before. And then is it really what you're trying to do? It's the same thing. Let's just get through it, take a beat, and then come back and revisit it in a way that's like, hey, man, good job. I'm proud of you. This is what I saw. What were you going through? Tell me what you were going. And the story would probably be amazing, right? So I think it's important to, like we said, acknowledge it, to explore it. But to your point, it doesn't have to be in that particular moment because there's no benefit to it in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
There's just not.
And even aside, well, and I guess that brings me back to the example that I used last week with Willow's hair, right? Yeah. Like she spent a lot of money of her own money and she didn't like the outcome. And we could sit in the feelings, but she was already stuck there. Yeah, she was already stuck there. So I did validate, that sucks, man. That you were really looking forward to it. And her hair, she always gets bad haircuts. It's just, I feel so terrible because that's one thing. It just never seems to go how she wants. And that sucks. My heart aches for her. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? We got to put it back in their lap, essentially, right?
Yeah.
This is your thing. Like, unless it's, well, I always say, is it an ish you or an ish them,
Mm.
right? If it's directly affecting you, right, then maybe you're going to respond a little bit differently. But no, like we got to put it back in their spot. There, I've totally lost my train of thought. There's something else I was going to say about that. Oh, so there is the heat of the moment, but even outside of the heat of the moment, if we are worried about our kids,
Yeah.
how are you feeling? How are your friendships? How is this? How are you, where or and I definitely see this with parents of teenagers, especially when they're worried that their teenager's depressed,
Hmm.
for example. But we even do it to each other. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Right? And they're like, nothing, nothing, nothing. Even just putting more focus on, we're making either we're going to make an issue that wasn't an issue in the first place, or we're going to exemplify and just turn it into this big deal that it didn't need to be.
Yeah. It's funny because this is a total offshoot. So I apologize now. Do you know the band Suicidal Tendencies?
It sounds familiar, but no.
So one of their songs, they're an Oakland-based band from the early 90s, and one of their songs was called Institutionalized. And it's literally a guy, a teenager, talking about how his parents keep, what's wrong with you? Why are you so depressed? And his response was, I'm not. I just want a Pepsi. I just want to chill and have a Pepsi. They're like, what's wrong with you? Why are you? And the whole song progresses in this cadence of, at the whole chorus is him screaming, I just wanted a Pepsi. And they're like, why are you freaking out? It's such a great illustration of exactly that problem, right? It's been around forever, right? Parents focusing on the wrong thing and potentially creating a bigger issue than what it is, when really all he wanted, and it's a joke now, like it's all I wanted was a Pepsi is a somewhat of a joke for people that know the song. But it's essentially that, right? Like the whole point in the video of the song paint this picture of him getting more and more agitated and upset to the point where they put him in an institution because they fear he's going to harm himself. He's so upset and so angry at the world. And he's in a straitjacket yelling, all I wanted was a Pepsi. That was it. Right. But it's such a funny take on a real situation in terms of, yeah, just relax. Like it's not always what you think it might be. Now, there's a balance, right? Like parents a lot of times will know legitimately when there's something going on with their kid. You can pick up on it, but you have to figure out the way to get them to open up to you as opposed to you forcing them to. Maya is a perfect example of that. She will shut down and she will just, yeah, and gone. Like literally will walk out of the room physically as opposed to have the conversation. But if you just kind of let it simmer, you especially, she'll do this with, she'll come back and she'll curl up with you and she'll just start chatting, right? And it's an important distinction because had you kept chirping, it never would have happened,
Mhm.
right? And Willow's the same. Willow, when she's upset, is much more emotive about it. You still have to give her that chance to come back and her initiate it, knowing that you're willing to talk. Otherwise, they're done. They
Yeah.
won't do anything.
And the door's here if you want to chat.
Yeah.
And even when they do, I'm not like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just I'm there as the listener and validating, right?
Well, and it's the old technique too of, when you get into situations like that, ask them, are you looking for commiseration or solutions? Like, are you looking for someone to listen or help you fix it? And let them decide. And most of the time, I just want to tell you, I just want to talk.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm just
Most
going
of
to
the
sit.
time, they aren't, all they're looking for is your presence. You don't even need to say anything. Most of the time, that's all they want is just,
Is that every
please.
parent, or is that just because you and I are so good that our presence just fixes everything? Like I walk into a room and my kid's like, oh, dad's here.
It's actually true, like for pretty much all of our kids.
Well, and we've seen it. This is obviously a much smaller scale, but we've talked over the past couple episodes about how the girls have had to be independent, how the girls have had to do a lot of things on their own the past few weeks because our schedules haven't lined up, right? We're at an age where the kids are old enough they can take care of themselves, and we've had to leverage that, right? We're not there to drive them. How are you going to get there, right? We're not there to make this appointment. How are you going to do that? And the result was they just wanted us to come home, not because they needed us, but because they wanted us to be around. And it's a cool place to be in when your kids want. And we talked about this the other day too. We're very lucky that our kids are annoying and call us all the time and hang out with us, and we can rarely get a chance to hug each other without one of the children popping up like some weird Muppet. But it's cool, right?
Yeah.
Because it And again, this isn't a pat your back episode, like pat ourselves on the back episode. We've obviously got challenges, but we're very lucky that our kids don't hate us, right? Yeah, we annoy them. And yeah, there's sometimes they don't want anything to do with us. But for the most part, they're completely content just chilling with us because we try whenever we can to not barrage them with stuff. And when we do, we're usually pretty quick to pick up like, oh, we're doing that,
Yeah.
right? And kind of course correct as
Yeah.
much as we can. Um, because that's the thing, right? We've talked about this on a ton of episodes, which is the second, not even the second anymore, with cell phones and social media, they get barraged at home too. But simplistically, the second they leave the house, it's a barrage. It is people coming at them, school coming at them, teacher coming at them. Da, 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 da. They just need a place where they can pull into harbor for the night and not get battered around anymore.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. And yes, you have to be engaged. Yes, you have to listen. Yes, you have to make sure that your kids are doing things in the best way they can, but also you can't make that decision for them, right? And that's where I think a lot of parents fall down.
Well, listening is just the big one. And it's been really cool because the first couple of days for university, like Maya was really scared, really nervous, didn't want to go to the orientation. But even just after the 2 orientation days, she wasn't even off campus. She was already calling me. I was the first person that
Yeah.
she called. Oh my gosh, I got to tell you about my day. This is ba, and I met this
Mhm.
person, and I met papa, and I met papa, and like name and where they're from and what they talked about. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna get on the C train," or like, and then, but then in that time before she could call me again, she was sending me pictures that
Yeah.
she had taken all day and all the friends that she had met, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's because we listen, and I mean, we've talked a lot about that, but not focusing on it's usually our worries, what
Yeah.
we're worried about for our kids. And I could have, because I knew how nervous and stressed out I could have. How are you feeling? And like, I could have been asking all the questions or things that I would have been worried about or that I was worried she was worried about, but I didn't.
Well, and
I
it was a
just
big
opened
leap,
it up.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. Because for her in particular, I'm trying not to share too much of her life because it's her life, but there was a lot of stuff going on for her other than that,
That's true.
right? Friends were leaving for university, boyfriend was getting settled in. She was anxious about her stuff, like
Well, everybody left. She's the only one going to
local,
local
right?
university. Yeah.
And so she's dealing with all that and then trying to get in the headset to be ready for her own thing. We weren't there for any of it.
That's
We missed
true.
the whole week. Not, I was there for Monday night because I came back, right? But we weren't there for any of it,
That's true.
right? And so I wasn't sure how it would go. I wasn't sure if it would go to, but at the end of the day, it was a great reinforcement that when she asked for help, I could help her, which was simple. She's like, "What do I need to do to take the trains?" She's never really had to take the trains before.
Only because other kids never were allowed to take the train. I wanted her to,
Yeah, but now she
but
loves it.
yeah,
She's like, "Oh, this is way better."
yeah.
And which is funny because now she looks down on the people that have to take the bus. She thinks the bus is trash. I'm like, dude, it's the same transit system. But giving her what she needed to have one less thing to worry about without stunting it and solutioning it. It was, hey, I don't know what train's cool. I'll find you a map and then I walk through it. And she figured it out. She's, oh, I need to go here and here. Yeah, cool. Remember, red to school, blue to home, right? Like it's essentially your lines. And well, even for Tuesday, we're supposed to go run an errand, and you were like, just take the train all the way down, and Dad can meet you there. Oh, and both of us went, oh yeah. And normally she'd be like, nah, I don't know. And she's like, yeah, that might work, and she'll just do that.
C train is way easier. Like
It's a little
it
sketch
would
downtown right
take her a lot longer to drive,
now. Oh,
but
driving would be the worst, and
and then
parking. Well,
paying.
did she tell you how much parking was
No,
for a pass for the year for just the standard $2,400?
wow.
$2,400 now. C train pass is only going to be about half that. So it's still insane when you take it into account. But that's 12 months as
Yeah.
opposed to 6 or 8, whatever the university is. It's a sidetrack. So, yeah, all that to say, you and I in this situation weren't in a position to helicopter in and solution everything, nor would we have, right? Even registering. This isn't working. This isn't working. This isn't working. Cool. Is there something specific you need my help with? Well, I don't know what to do. Well, you've got two options. You can keep doing this or you can call these people. Okay, I'll do that. Cool.
Well, but even still, like I thought, like at first, but then like she couldn't. She had put a hold on courses, but then some she needed prerequisites or they were full or overlapped or whatever. She figured it all out.
Yeah.
Like she's taking courses I had no clue were even on her radar.
Real good chance that she's not going to get a degree because she's picked the wrong courses. We don't know. We don't know. It could
She's
be
gotta
8
figure
years
it
from
out,
now. She's
but
going to be like, why haven't I
nobody's figured
graduated?
out mine or yours. Like,
I never figured out university, full stop.
so we just, but all this to say, I mean, if we're doing good, I've said this way like tons. If we're doing good, our kids are doing good too. And we just have to start believing that they're okay. Because otherwise, all this worrying is going to create, we're just pathologizing and
We're just creating people that are incapable of functioning if we don't, right? And you have to set them up with the tools to go learn how to do it themselves. That's it.
Mhm.
And yeah, they're going to fail. And yeah, they're going to meet people that are jerks. And yeah, they're going to have situations that aren't cool. They need those situations. They need them.
We needed them to learn ourselves.
Yeah.
So they need them.
100%. Like if you and I died in a car accident tomorrow, have we set our children up so that they could be independent people that could build a suit of armor and become like a superhero? We don't know that until it happens, but we've tried, right? Tony Stark's parents died. He became Iron Man. That's all I'm saying is we need to set them up with the tools.
What's really funny is just watching like, so Willow, we were away for the last little bit of summer, and Willow stepped up and cooked every night, cooked dinner because Maya,
And did you hear her talk track?
no,
I cooked and cooked and she wouldn't clean up. And it was just mess after mess after mess. And she's like, you should pay me for cooking every day. I'm like, I'm like, please elaborate on how this is going to. She literally sat there and lectured me for 5 minutes about how hard it was to cook every day and try and keep the house clean when nobody else was helping. I'm like, are you really having this conversation with me right now? Seriously expecting money out of it? And I think at about the 7-minute mark, she finally stopped and went, oh, you're not going to pay me anything. I'm like, do you not see what you're doing? Yeah, no, I know you and mom do that all the time. I'm like, yeah, we do.
but it's just funny, like the 13-year-old, but good on the 17-year-old who's like, yeah, man, if somebody's going to be cooking me dinner, like,
I think
although she did step up and make some chicken and broccoli or something.
she did make.
Oh, no, she
She
didn't.
did.
Willow still
Willow
did
did it.
it.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Willow took it. Now, granted, Willow has a better chance of success at something edible, right? Like Maya can get by, but
The whole summer, the only thing I saw Maya make was um tomato soup.
craft
Oh
dinner.
no, actually no, never mind. I made her the tomato soup.
You're such an enabler.
Never
So
mind.
you've erased everything we said in this episode with that one statement.
Just because, well, I had offered because she was wrapping up the boat for the summer, like putting the cover on the
the
boat.
one thing I asked her to do.
Yeah.
I never checked. Is the boat actually wrapped up?
I assume they did. I was making tomato soup though.
I never got a phone call telling me she couldn't do it, so I assumed that it got done.
Yeah. Well, her boyfriend was there. She probably wouldn't have been able to if he wasn't there because it does get tricky with the buttons and stuff. But anyway, all this to say, they're doing okay. Stop asking about how they're doing.
Just be there for when they're not.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. Just be there for when they're not and don't judge and don't chirp and don't rush in and you're not a firefighter. Not everything needs to be put out. They just need to know that they can come back, decompress, and recalibrate on how they're going to fix it because they'll fix it.
Firefighter, that reminds me of something else. Another episode, another day.
Oh, my word. Good day.
Good day.